Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Namo sadanto suchedoye alahudi sammyao sanputoshe.
Namo sadanto suchetoye alahati samyang sambuddhe.
无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered, even in billions of eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. Venerable Master, Shifu Shangren, 各位师兄大家，阿弥陀佛, Dharma friends, good afternoon, 阿弥陀佛. Today is Sunday, May 10th, here in the Gold Coast of Australia. My name is Reverend Heng Sure, and we're about to investigate the Flower Garland Sutra, the Avatamsaka Sutra, as we do on these Sunday afternoons. It is Saturday evening in California, and people are joining via YouTube, our YouTube channel Dharma Realm Live. People are also joining via Chinese, the Chinese equivalent. What program are we using? We're using Zoom. We're using Zoom. So people, friends from China can join via Zoom. So we're happy to bring everybody together. We're going to begin the way that we usually do. I'm going to lubricate my singing voice here. We're going to do what the sutra shows us devas do. What do gods do when it's time to listen to the Dharma? They sing. So, chanting. Okay, we're going to chant. We're going to chant an invocation, and the invocation is right there on the screen, if you can see it. And it says, homage to the Buddha's Flower Garland Sutra of Great Expansive Teachings and the Ocean-Wide Flower Garland Assembly of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. The Chinese is Namo Da Fang Guang Fo Hua Yan Jing Hua Yan Hai Hui Fo Pusa. So, why do we have two languages here? Because they say yin shui si yuan. When you drink the water, you recall its source. You remember where it came from. And we have an English language version of this text. We also have a Vietnamese version, a Korean version, a Sanskrit version, Japanese version, Tibetan version. But we now have an English version. And the sutra is kind of like a flow of a river of wisdom. And it flows from the highest antiquity, that is to say 2,500 years ago, flows on to the present. And it's been through all these different language transformations to get to us here in 2020, in Australia, in America, in Taiwan, in France, wherever we're listening, Ireland, wherever we could be listening to the sutra, we're dipping our toes into, or jumping in entirely, just splashing into the flow of the river of Dharma. So that's kind of amazing to my mind that here on a Sunday afternoon we're taking part in this living procession, the living stream of creation of Buddhist wisdom, of wisdom that was reported by the Buddha. It's not Buddhist wisdom. Buddha probably wouldn't claim it as Buddhist wisdom. It's deep human wisdom that a human reported, and then he was called the Buddha. So there we go. Okay, we got all our ducks lined up. Now, let's do our invocation. That's our melody. Let's do it. We're going to recite this 7 times, and the point of it is to imitate, to follow along with the wise exemplars, the wise teachers of the past, who, when they wanted to bring spiritual presence, they put their palms together and asked. They chanted. So we're going to do that today. Nam mô đa phang quang pho an jin wan hai o pu sa nam mô đa phang quang pho an jin wan hai o pu sa We're going to bring our vintage Clifford Essex banjo back into play in just a bit. Got some music to share with everyone. And what I wanted to talk about in particular, of course, we're going to go through the text, our next section of Flower Garland Sutra. We respect the tradition of sutra explainers, people who, they're called exegetes, people who do exegesis, people who do what in Judaism is called midrash, right? Where you explain the Dharma, explain the sutras, put your thoughts onto the Buddha's wisdom. We're going to do that for sure. However, I thought we've come to a section of the Flower Garland Sutra that is very prosaic, is that the word for it? Not to sound diminishing of it. It's, I don't want to say boring. Boring is too harsh. Boring is a state of my mind, not a state of the sutra. We've come to a part of the sutra that has lists of 10 things in a list. It's a challenge to explain it in a way that brings it to life. Right this minute, online, listening together and investigating together with us, we have monks, we have Dharma masters from the Berkeley Buddhist Monastery and other places who are also, like me, engaged in the process of explaining texts. If we were to rename the Berkeley Buddhist Monastery, and it has 2 names. It's called the Berkeley Buddhist Monastery and the Institute for World Religions. If we were to rename it, we would talk to Master Shren Hua, who gave us our name. We would say, Shifu, could we call it the Berkeley Buddhist Lecture Hall? Bokelai Fujiao Jiangtang. And he named his first monastery, second monastery in Hong Kong, Fujiao Jiangtang. When he got to San Francisco, first monastery in America was the Fujiao Jiangtang. So chances are Berkeley, Shifu probably would have said okay for that because we lecture on texts. Now, I thought today it would be helpful because we've we've left behind our storytelling narrative part. The last couple months we've had fun because the sutra was telling a story, and there was a narrator whose voice we could pick out right away saying, and then this lotus appeared, and then the Bodhisattva sat on the lotus, and the lights came out of the swastika on his chest and circled in 10 directions and entered the Dharma realms and brought beings to life, and then circled back and entered through the top of the crown of his head. These astonishing cinematic stories. We've been enjoying those. So the text moves on, and now we've come to the part where it's instructions. Our Bodhisattva, that's what we're talking about, this being who is in training to learn to become a teacher. He is now at the point of the 10th stage, called the Cloud of Dharma stage. At this point, he is ready to be taught. And the sutra is going to tell us what he knows and what he's about to learn, what he doesn't know yet. And it comes in series of 10. 10 things are what appear. And so we're going to go through those straight ahead, right through the front door. And as they arise, we're going to try our best to make sense of them and to open them up for all of you. Now, what I thought I would do today is put a context around this section of text in maybe the next couple weeks and explain my approach as someone who explains texts. I'm going to let you know my strategies, my structures, my approach to explaining this sort of text so that what I've learned and gained over 30-some years of explaining texts, I can share with those who are also involved in this work. And the idea being to encourage and to share the knowledge and maybe to inspire, ideally, that would be perfect if it worked that way, to inspire those of you who are intrigued, who are interested, who maybe even be fascinated by this process of explaining text, touching the Buddha's wisdom, bringing it to life. Maybe we can inspire some of you to investigate deeper, to go deeper into this process. So, what do we start with? We start with the text, with today's passages. We're going to, I'll give you the outline, and then we'll do it. So we investigate the text, the passage, 2 languages. We do it in Chinese, we do it in English. Then make comments about the language of the text. What is new and different? What is unusual about the text? Are there new words that we haven't encountered? Is there an unusual image that's being presented? Point to the principle that's being expressed. Then go back, start over, and then do the meaning of the text. So, say it in other words. First we read it, we look at what it says, then we look at what it means. Okay? So that's a standard way to honor the passage of text and the tradition of Dharma masters who involve themselves in what's called the Jiaozong, the teaching, the school of teachings, the school that answers the question, what did the Buddha teach? What did the Buddha say? Okay? That's the question everyone who Jiangjing, who explains sutras, everyone is engaged in that. What did the Buddha say? Okay? That's the question. Many people come to Buddhism or to meditation or to mindfulness and have no idea that there's this entire body of literature that the Buddha for 49 years explained what he could see through his wisdom eyes that was now different from before. He's gone from duality to unity. He's gone from consciousness that cuts up and divides and chops ideas into smaller pieces, kind of the reductionist view that science is so fond of. He's gone from that to an integrating view, where all the pieces are put into one complete whole, and he's able to see. He's also done something profound, which is he's gone beyond this view of me and mine as separate from you and yours. He's erased that view. He can see without those blinders of, this is it. That's all there is. And I'm inside and you're outside. That's not his reality anymore through his practice. So from that perspective, things look different, right? He's seeing differently now. So we are going to unpack the words the Buddha used, and from one point of view, it's ancient, old, cobwebs on it, dust on it, museum stuff, not interesting to contemporary people. That's too bad. Then Buddhism is just another field of inquiry, kind of like archaeology. The oldest thing you touch today is a Buddha Sutra, right? Yeah, but how boring is that? That's not, if that were all there was, our teacher, Master Hsuan would not have spent every night for 30 years, without exception, bringing our attention to these texts. It's precisely because they are fresh. They are as fresh as a breeze blowing through an open window. They're as fresh as that taste of cool water on a hot day. They're as fresh as the first thoughts that pop into your mind when you open your eyes in the morning after being asleep, right? These are the sutras. And so with that in mind, he said, yeah, these are important. Do this. He did 90 minutes a day. On Saturday, twice for 90 minutes. On Sunday, twice for 90 minutes. So that's what we're touching. Okay, those of us who want to make sense of them, to open them up and to bring them, to share them out to you all, to us in the world, what do we do? Today I'm going to do that process, read the text, 2 languages, look at the language of it, look at the words, make comments about how we understand what he said, and then come back and talk about what does it mean. Okay, so far so good? Are we all on the same page? Doug Powers would say, y'all understand that much? And his mind moves so fast, he never gets to that much. It's just y'all understand, right? Doug Powers. So then what I'm going to do today is talk a little bit about the current moment in the world, 2020. What is the current moment in the world? Well, in the Buddhist world, it's Buddha's birthday time. Buddha's birthday. And Buddha's birthday, that point is what? We have a founder who was born, a person, a human being, the Prince Siddhartha Gautama of the Shakya clan. So we talk about that every year. There's things that happen on Buddha's birthday. So I'm going to put that context around our sutra today. And another thing another strategy, you could say, another format, another context I plan to use for today's sutra lecture is I'm going to talk about I've looked at the text in advance, and the words are ji repeats 10 times, and then the word hua repeats 10 times. The ji word I've translated as accumulate, but since I translated my version, I found another translation from my Dharma brother Heng Sure, Bhikshu Heng Sure, who translates and publishes as Kalavinka, one of the magical birds of the Buddhist ecosystem. Bhikshu Heng Sure translates that as attain. So, okay, try it. Let's see how that works. And why does he do it that way? There's reasons for that. The second word, the hua, that's the ji word. The second word, hua, is the name, the word in our teacher's name, Master Xuan Hua, which if I was a good Chinese disciple, I wouldn't speak it, right? That's a tradition in China. The disciple doesn't directly speak his master's name. So anyway, that word means to transform or to teach. Transformation like what? Take flour, take water, take yeast, mix it together, let it rise, punch it down, let it rise, put it into the oven. It transforms into bread, right? That's a transformation. Flour becomes bread if you know how to hua it, you know how to transform it. But it also is the word for teaching in the sense that people who learn things grow. They evolve. They learn, and you don't put your hand on the hot stove twice. Once burned, twice shy. That is hua, all right? So another way to translate transform is change. So I used change in my translation, 10 of those. So I'm going to look at those and talk about it from what perspective? Talk about it from the perspective of we who like to meditate. Meditate. New idea, right? Many people are coming to Buddhism for the very first time, especially during this particular time of quarantining, sheltering in place, social distancing, isolation, right? Stay at home, lockdown. In this time of our pandemic worldwide, many people are saying, nothing else to do, might as well meditate. Right? So with that experience that we share in common, what does that teach us about our text today? What can we bring from the experience of meditation to explain, to open the text we're going to look at? All right? So far, so good, Doug Powers would say. You all understand that much? We all good, right? And not only that. Okay, so that's now switch the metaphor. If I was cooking, that's the food I'm serving today. So I'm not cooking. You're not going to eat anything on your tongue. You're going to eat food for your brain, for your Dharma body and wisdom life. I hope it tastes good. If you didn't want to get fed, what'd you come to the lecture for? We always had that amazing how it was. You know that disciples of Master Xuan Hua ate one meal a day. Still do. Eat one meal a day. The monastics, the monks and nuns. Not recommended for laity. If you live in the world, if you get out past the monastery's gate, eat more. Eat enough. Monks and nuns who live inside can eat one meal a day. We always did that. Strangely enough, after hearing him speak Dharma to lecture on sutras every night, we never felt hungry. The Dharma, the wisdom of the Buddha, fills the body's need for nutrition, for wisdom vitamins, air vitamins. How do you explain it? We would, after hearing the lecture, you'd just be full and ready to meditate. And all of the body's digestion processes would have calmed down. Overnight, in the morning, you get up and, oh my goodness, the meditation was sublime. And then you were ready for your first cup of tea, your first cup of coffee. Just great after that. So how funny, right? That somehow the Dharma feeds us just like food in a way. I wonder what is eating. Your Dharma body is eating, maybe, something like that? Okay, so I'm serving up a Dharma banquet. I hope it's delicious. I hope you're hungry. I hope you feel full afterwards. Why do we Namo Da Fang Guang Fu Huai Yanjing? Part of that experience of feeling full is because if we are sincere as we invite the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and if they attend our lecture, something about that presence, and Master Hua would say the light that they bring has a lot to do with us feeling what would it feel like? I don't need any more. I'm full. I'm okay. I don't need more. In fact, I can actually give. Right? So that's maybe part of the process. Okay, what did I bring to season the food of the Dharma? You Dharma speakers, sutra lecturers, it's good as you prepare your Dharma feast, leaning on that metaphor now, it's good to have some dessert or some spices. Otherwise, it can be just too bland, right? So what have I got? I've got Medicine Buddha mantra. We're definitely going to recite this, kind of a new custom that we have on our Avatamsaka lecture. We recite the Medicine Buddha mantra with the banjo and transfer the merit out to folks who are suffering like mad with the COVID-19 illness. What else do we have? We also have, come around here, we have Praise the Buddha in English. Praise the Buddha's praise. When do we do this? We do this once a year at Buddha's birthday time, which is now. Okay. What else do we have? We have another wonderful piece of music I'm going to share with people, composed by Imi Oi Huang Huiyin in Malaysia, which is a praise of the Buddha that she composed just 3 days ago with Cha Yu, her colleague in Kuala Lumpur, and I want to show that to people so that you can listen on your own later. It's a wonderful new praise of the Buddha. Also, this morning, one of my Dharma friends here sent me the couch choir singing a David Bowie song, called Heroes. And it's an incredibly wonderful song submitted by 6,000 people over 16 countries. And we're going to listen to that because it is uplifting, it touches the heart, and you will, look for Couch Choir Sings Heroes. Sam, if you can bring that up. It celebrates and honors the doctors, nurses, and health professionals who are putting their bodies and lives on the line to keep us healthy. So we're going to do that. Also, I'm going to mention something that happened yesterday, which was quite wonderful, which was the Berkeley Buddhist Monastery did a special online Bathing the Buddha celebration. It was in California, it was yesterday at 6:30 in the morning. Here it was 11:30 at night here in Australia. And we put out a notice last minute that if anybody wanted to fill in a form, put their name down, we would be happy to bathe the Buddha on your behalf. Well, 1,500 people worldwide did. So while one monk was going, Di sha sang che so wa, the mantra for bathing the Buddha, while one person was doing that, 3 bhikshus, including Jin Xiaoshi, actually 4, down in Long Beach, reading Vietnamese names, we had 4 monks reciting the names of the people who asked us to bathe the Buddha on their behalf, since with the quarantine they couldn't get to the monastery. So that took place. And I just wanted to share that with people. It was quite heartwarming to hear all the names being recited, and then the camera scanned down the list of names so people could hear their names being read in front of the Buddha and could see their name there in the Buddha hall while someone was busily bathing the Buddha and chanting the mantra. So that was the first time we've had an international online bathing the Buddha ceremony. So we had people from 16 countries. Was that correct? I guess maybe make a comment. Was it 16 countries total? How many? We counted, and it included many names from Europe. We were amazed, from places that heretofore had not participated in our online Dharma events. So with the help of Madalena Tanmujia, Madalena got all of her volunteers from China to add their names. So we had hundreds of friends from China who added their names, and then their comments came back today, and the comments were quite positive about our online event. So that's what I have prepared for my spices today, for my Dharma talk, for my cooking, the Dharma banquet that I'm about to share. So, okay, that's the plan. And we have to fit it into a time. We have to bring it all together, and we have to keep it, respectful, and the deportment needs to be intact as we do this practice called investigating a sutra. Good indeed. Here we go. Here's our text for today. Let's see. We start, Sam, on page 24 and 25, the last paragraph. We're going to repeat what we did last week. We read 20 G's, 20 accumulations, then explained 10 of them. We're going to read them all. We'll read 20 and then do the second 10. Otherwise, we start halfway through. So, okay, are we ready? This is 佛子菩萨摩诃萨住持法云地如实知, that one. Okay, here we go. 佛子菩萨摩诃萨住持法云地如实知欲界集色界集无色界集世界集法界集有为界集无为界集众生界集世界集虚空界集涅槃界集. Good. Here we go. Disciples of the Buddha, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva who abides upon the stage of the Dharma cloud knows, as it truly is, how the desire realm accumulates, how the form realm accumulates, how the formless realm accumulates, how the worldly realm accumulates, how the Dharma realm accumulates, how the realm of the conditioned accumulates, how the realm of the unconditioned accumulates, how the realm of sentient beings accumulates, how the realm of consciousness accumulates, how the realm of emptiness accumulates, and how the realm of nirvana accumulates. Okay, so far so good. Now, let's take a look here. What do we have? The word accumulate in Chinese is ji, and it means to gather, to bring together, to come together. How weeds accumulate in your garden when you don't pick them, when you don't weed it, right? That's the kind of accumulate. How if you drop some, if you're eating lunch at a picnic table under the trees, and you drop a couple breadcrumbs on the ground, how the seagulls accumulate, how the crows accumulate. If you put out bird seed, how the lorikeets will accumulate here in the Queensland bush. That's that. From few to many, from none to some, from lots to lots more. We're talking about hungry birds. So that's one way to explain this word that repeats 10 times. What is it? The Bodhisattva Mahasattva who abides on the stage of the Dharma cloud knows, there's our verb, right? He knows, as it truly is, Ru Shizhi, without delusion, what? How things accumulate. We're looking first at the language of the passage, okay? Now, right here, Kalavinka, Bhikshu Heng Sure, looked at the text and ji, and what did he do? He went back to the Sanskrit original, and discovered that the Sanskrit contributed more to a meaning of attain. The Sanskrit for ji, which is to accumulate, is very similar but not exactly the same as the Sanskrit of the original, which is to attain, to get, to accomplish, right? To succeed in. So what it does is it calls into question whether the translator, Venerable Shikshananda, our Tang Dynasty translator, had the same Sanskrit that we have now. That's a question. What was the original Indian palm leaf manuscript that made its way across the Silk Road or through the maritime transmission into the hands of our translator, who was a Tang Dynasty monk called Shi Chananto Zunja, Sanzang, right? The Tripitaka master Shikshananda. We don't know. We don't know. We can't go back to the Tang Dynasty. We have a Sanskrit version, which may or may not have been the same one he was looking at, and the word for attain is very similar to the word for accumulate. So, without that knowledge, last week, I went ahead and translated this as accumulate. And if people remember, I went into the Four Noble Truths last week to talk about the second noble truth, same word, ji, and they call that the truth of craving, the truth that beckons, that gathers in what? The first noble truth, suffering. Where does suffering come from? It comes from the gathering of desire, the accumulation of things that pull us out and say, that's what you want. It's out there. Go for it. That will make you happy. Suffering, dissatisfaction results because when we do follow the craving of our mind, that desire thought, and go outside to grab what we're told we need to be happy, and it doesn't hit the spot. It doesn't satisfy. So the result is what? Ku, dukkha, dissatisfaction. That's a principle. That's how I explained it. And I went further and I said, what we have here is a creation story. Now, just hold on here. I applied that idea through our 10. What are they? The Bodhisattva knows as it really is how the desire realm comes about. What's the desire realm? It's where we live, where we die, where we're born again. Where we live, where we die, where we're born again. Confused by desire. And how does it accumulate? It accumulates when out of the stillness of meditation, this is what we said last week, you're sitting there, you're a meditator, things are good. You're full, you're satisfied, you've heard the Dharma, you're not hungry. You have an answer, things make sense. And your six senses are fat and sassy and happy. And then, in the middle of that, satisfaction and fullness and stillness, a thought moves. What is that thought? Maybe it's a smell. Your nose goes, pizza. Or, should we do it again? Chocolate. Right? Or, what could it be? We're cooped up, we're quarantined, we've been sitting in the same 3 or 4 rooms for 6 weeks now. And we gotta get out, and a bell rings inside and says, get on your bike and go out and see what's happening over at the park, right? And oh man, out of the middle of stillness and satisfaction, we move. And we go out, and sure enough, you can fill in the rest of the story. But we move. the collective word for that is we move. Something moves in the mind, and it pushes us out the sense gates, and we create what? 起祸造业受果报. The sad but universal formula of delusion leads to karma, leads to retribution. Confused by thinking stuff is outside, that when we get it we're going to be happy forever and forever, pushes us out, and we discover that in order to get that stuff we have to pay the piper and create karma, and then when the retribution for that karma, when the ripples come back from the action, the equal and opposite reaction returns from the action that we create, we're not happy. 起祸造业受果报. That's our formula, right? Follow delusion, create karma, and then pay the price. Then we get the results of what we do. Not always. Sometimes it's good. You know, it's usually not one thing. It's usually a mix. Some good, some bad. But it doesn't hit the spot. And then sure enough, the next thought of desire pushes us out. And we can pass our lives pursuing pleasure, running from pain. That's an unawakened, unexamined life. So here's our word ji, talking about that. That's how the desire realm accumulates. The form realm accumulates differently, because in the form realm, desire has ended. The form realm has to do with meditation, with the dhyanas, with the chanding. In Pali, they call them the jhanas, a state of meditation where you feel very wonderful indeed. Desire has to have become very thin for you, very light, before you can enter that state of dhyana samadhi, that state of meditation where you just don't want to stop meditating. So you don't. That's a realm of the heavens. The devas live there. The formless realm accumulates in a different way. The formless realm, gods in the formless realm live a very long life. They are so refined and so, so subtle, so sublime is the existence of those living beings. They still have a lifespan, but they don't even have bodies to worry about. They don't get hungry, they don't get sleepy, right? And they live in the state of lightness and ease. They're still gods, they still die at a certain point, but the formless realm accumulates with large thoughts that take a long time to think, okay? Very few and very sublime. The worldly realm accumulates when multiple people are pursuing desires at the same time, and they collide, and they divide, right? Worldly realm. How does the Dharma realm accumulate? Principles. Dharma realm lives on Dao Li and Fa, right? The Dharma realm, the Fa Jie, the Dharma Dhatu, accumulates when principles are revealed. So cause and effect creates the Dharma realm. And people not dividing, but stitching together, people weaving their lives together, find principle, stand on it, unify, and prosper. The Dharma realm has accumulated. The realm of the conditioned and the unconditioned. Let's take this too as a pair. The conditioned is based on the Buddha's wisdom, as he says, everything that we encounter in our lives is made up of parts. Comes together like components. Comes together, remember we talked about bread a minute ago. What kind of bread are you making? We're making raisin bread. So, how do you do it? Same stuff, flour, water, yeast, sugar, some binder. You punch it down, it rises, you punch it down, it rises, you get it ready, you add the raisins. Maybe you put a little bit of glaze on the top, you slice the loaves, put them in the oven, and out comes raisin bread. Yummy. One of our young Dharma protectors this morning, made peanut butter oatmeal cookies for the Dharma masters and for the Dharma protectors. Yum. Her mom sent us a video of our little 3-year-old Dharma protector, whose name I won't mention online, but we are grateful for her kindness in offering cookies. And we saw a little video of her stirring the cookie batter. So what is that? That's the realm of the conditioned. Oh my goodness. Conditions. Conditions means parts, components, pieces that come together and come apart. How do those peanut butter oatmeal cookies come apart? Just wait till lunch. They'll come apart real fast. They'll nourish the body and they'll become part of our future wisdom, right? Things that come together come apart. The problem is we humans in between are attached to things that we love, and we are averse to the things we don't love, the things we hate. And when they break up, we suffer. So this bodhisattva knows, Ru Shi Zhi, knows as they are how things accumulate. Furthermore, how the unconditioned accumulates. Now, this is a challenge because what is the unconditioned? There's a wonderful text the Buddha explained. Actually, it's a shastra. It's not a sutra. So it wasn't spoken by the Buddha. It was spoken and explained by Dharma masters later. It's called the Bai Fa Ming Men Lun Lun, the shastra on the accumulation of the 100 dharmas. It's a Sarvastivadin school, the Everything Is school, the Indian Buddhist group, and it explains that all dharmas are conditioned with the exception of 2. There are 2 wu wei fa, dharmas that didn't get made. What are they? One is space itself, empty space. Here it is. I'm pointing to this unconditioned dharma right this minute. Have some? Empty space. The other is nirvana. What does it mean? It means that you don't need to put empty space together, therefore it never deconstructs either. You don't build it, it never gets unbuilt. Nirvana is realized by subtraction. You return to nirvana, which doesn't come and doesn't go. It doesn't continue. It's unconditioned. So how does it accumulate? Well, it accumulates by reverse, from the reverse, by removing the conditions on top of nirvana. Then the Buddha natures returns to a state of nirvana. The bodhisattva knows as it really is that state. Okay? So, what are the last 2? Emptiness and nirvana. There we are. Those are the last 2. So we just did 10. And I put the linguistic and the meaning. What does it say and what does it mean? I put them together as I explained it. All right? So far so good. Y'all got that much. Any questions or comments from the bhikshus online? We've got a number of monks. 4 monks are listening in, all from their own separate computers. That's good. And anybody got a comment or a question about it so far? Feel free. You don't have to raise your hand. But if you do raise your hand, I'll call on you. There we go. All righty. Think about that. Feel free to join in anytime. Got a chat. Nothing from online so far. Okay. Far so good. Let's look at the now that I talked about how do we start? I said what I want to share today is how I approach as a Dharma chef, right? How I approach this process of explaining sutras. And I put it into the context of the moment. So what's going on at the moment? Well, one thing is our pandemic. And some countries are doing very well. South Korea, has very few cases, new cases of COVID-19. Hong Kong has done very well. Singapore has done very well. Taiwan has done really well, right? Australia, depending on the state, has done so well that based on statistics and based on no new cases in Queensland for days, we are relaxing some of our quarantining rules. So here at Gold Coast Dharma Realm, being a house of worship, we can invite a few individuals here, keeping appropriate social distancing, but it's not the case that we have to lock our doors now. Certain commercial establishments are also open. So that's good. That's a positive step. So we know that at least the first wave of COVID infections can be endured, we can get through it, and with statistics, with facts, with the numbers, and with everyone mindful of the wish to protect each other, the gates open. We can return we can step outside, we can go outside the door. Whether or not the economic rebound is that easy, we'll see. We don't know yet. For example, airlines are having a terrible time worldwide. And everybody who travels, everyone who depends upon travelers are having a terrible time. Right this minute, across the boundary, across the Tasman Sea, New Zealand is looking forward to lots of Kiwis coming over and visiting Hobbit Village, right? They're exploring the possibility of welcoming tourists to New Zealand. Any of you Kiwis who want to come to the Gold Coast and enjoy our beaches, you can't yet, not yet, but soon. Consider buying your ticket and planning ahead for the time when you too can look at the beautiful sunsets off the Gold Coast and the Sunshine Coast and the New South Wales coast, right? So that's coming up because New Zealand jumped on the virus and early shut the door. They had a 4-step plan to lock down New Zealand, did it, and identified everybody who was sick and did contact tracing. As a result, the virus had nobody new to infect and seems to be subdued for the time being. We don't know what's going to happen, but it was that's the first wave has been subdued to the point where we are considering New Zealand, Australian travel resuming, which is really good news for the folks who are using their savings because there's no new money coming in, no tourists. So that's where we are right now. And with that in mind, the other context that we're looking at right this minute is Buddha's birthday. I mentioned that that's the holiday that the Buddhists are celebrating. And what's unique about Buddha's birthday is interesting. It's different from Christian holiday. I'm not versed in other sacred birthdays, but what's interesting about Buddha's birthday is this day, and it's the lunar full moon of the 4th lunar month. It's the full moon of the 4th lunar month. So you got to get a lunar calendar, and you go to the 15th day of the lunar 4th month. On that day, our legend story goes that the Buddha was born, that he got enlightened, and he entered nirvana on the same day. How about that? So he came into the world, walked 7 steps, lotuses rose under his feet. He said, Tian Shang, Tian Xia, Wei Wo Du Zun. Upon the earth below the sky, I am the honored one, he said. And 9 dragons released sweet dew water and anointed the crown of the head of the Buddha. There we go. There's another Guanding, right? That's how we've been looking at anointing of the crown, consecrations, and that happened to the Buddha. The baby Buddha, the prince, he wasn't the Buddha at all. He still had to cultivate. But he got bathed by 9 dragons, says the story, says our legends. Great story, you know, as legends go. And since that time, we symbolically bathe the Buddha. And we sing one song. There are 2 songs, two melodies that we sing only once a year. And I like them so much, I thought, my goodness, we ought to do these more often. And here is one of those melodies, right? Here's sorry, it's not a melody, that's a verse. Here is one of the verses that we sing. I wanted to show it to people. And it goes, Tian Shang, Tian Xia, Wu Ru Fo, Shi Fang Shi Jie, Yi Wu Bi, Shi Jian Suo You, Wo Jin Jian, Yi Qie Wu You, Ru Fo Zhe. That's how it goes in Chinese, and I like that so much that I translated it, but I broke it in half. The first one made a verse in English. The second 2 lines, the first 2 lines made 1 English verse. The second 2 lines, the third and fourth, made a second English verse. And here they are. What that says in Chinese is, upon the earth, below the sky, the Buddha has no peer. In 10 directions, everywhere, he is beyond compare. And I slipped to the bottom and went, I've searched around this whole wide world, and now I can declare you'll never find a wiser one than Buddha anywhere. Repeated it, you'll never find a wiser one than Buddha anywhere. So that's the verse in Chinese that we only do once a year, and it's such a good one. So I translated it so we could do it in English anytime we choose. We don't have to wait till Buddha's birthday to do it. But then it was so short, I thought, boy, we need more verses. So I wrote some other verses to it. And we needed a melody, so I wrote Amazing Grace, which everybody knows and loves. And it's true, I have brought this song out, Praise the Buddha, where? I've done it in Taipei, I've done it in Beijing, I've done it in Paris, I've done it in Vancouver, I've done it in Sydney, in Melbourne, in Kuala Lumpur, in Singapore, done it in Des Moines, and I've done it in Minneapolis, right? Around the world. And people sing right away. Because why? We know Amazing Grace, and we like to be invited to praise the Buddha. So, those of you who are listening today, we are inviting you to join in wherever you are, and the cameras are on. If you don't sing, we will know, so it's important that you sing. So here we go. You ready? Amazing Grace. Praise the Buddha. It's Buddha's birthday. Upon the earth below the sky, Buddha has no peer. In 10 directions everywhere, he is beyond compare. He's gone beyond duality. He's never born again. With wisdom bright he blesses me. my joy and pain. He walked the noble middle way with strength and purity. In dark of night and light of day, His kindness touches me. Here we go, ready? He's not divine, but He's awake. He's neither come nor gone. I find Him in each blade of grass. He is the wisdom sun. Okay, last verse, here we go. We'll repeat the last line at the end. I've searched around this whole wide world. Now I can declare you'll never find a wiser one than Buddha anywhere. Last line again. You'll never find a wiser one than Buddha anywhere. Alrighty, thank you for joining. It's our new English language Praise the Buddha song. And it's the Buddha's birthday. And, you know, what's the deal with the bathing part? Well, I gave you the legend, the symbolism of the Buddha was baptized. We want to use that one. Sprinkled, anointed on the crown by dragons, says the legend. So every Buddha's birthday, every full moon of the fourth lunar month. This year, according to our calendar, that was April 30th, actually. So it's interesting that there are different countings of the Buddhist calendar. And so in the Mahayana, in the Theravada, it's now 2053, they say, the Buddhist calendar. The Mahayana gives it 3039, which is interesting how they calculate it. But in the Bay Area, San Francisco, there's so many Buddhist communities with different calendars that any given year, I get invited to about 6 Buddhist birthdays celebrations, all focused around the spring full moon. So yesterday at the Berkeley Buddhist Monastery, online, because people are quarantined, can't get out, we did an online bathing the Buddha and invited folks to send in their names, and we bathed the Buddha for them. 1,500 people did, which was a surprise to see how far that message went. And it tells us that people wait for the opportunity to bathe the Buddha. And this year, with the virus quarantining us, people missed it. They were, why bathe the Buddha? People might say, is the Buddha dirty? Does the Buddha need a bath? Give him a shower. Why not shower the Buddha? No, it's not because the Buddha's dirty. And the Buddha isn't waiting for us to wash him clean. It's not that. It's what? It's symbolic. The idea being, with the new Buddha coming into the world, symbolically with the dragons bathing him with sweet dew, the Buddha went on to become a perfected human being. And they say, 学佛做人，人道尽，佛道长. We study the Buddha, but we learn how to be good people. And when you become a perfected human being, that is Buddhahood. So a Buddha is simply somebody who has brought to fullness, to realization, all their best human parts. Like, be the best, your best possible person, right? Be your best person, they say. Right. We do that. And what that means is what? You, I, bring alive the kindness inherent in our hearts. And when an impulse to scold somebody arises, to vent my temper on some person out there, I go, I certainly don't like to be scolded, to be blasted. I'll let it go. I'll reclaim, recycle that energy, and be patient instead, and use kindness. That's what it means. What is that? You just bathed your inner Buddha. You're fresh and clean. So the symbolism of Buddha's birthday is renewal. Renewal. Getting to start over. It's the idea of washing away the accumulated defilements, the crusty dirt, the smudges, the fingerprints gathered over the last year since we bathed the Buddha last time. Or since you woke up this morning, let's bring it home, right? You get a chance to renew, to try better, try different, try again. Use kindness this time. The Chinese have a great saying. It was inscribed on the bathtub of Tang Shangwang, right? They said, 苟日新, 日新, 又日新. If you can renew yourself today, renew yourself every day. Make daily reinvention of your best self your life project. Do it again today. 苟日新, 日新, 又日新. I like that. It's 苟 if, 日新, daily new, 日新, day new, sun, new, renew. 又日新, again, renew. So that was the inscription on the bathtub of a Chinese king. As he bathed, he reminded himself that it was the inner cleanliness that mattered the most. So that's what bathing the Buddha is about. And as we do that symbolic bathing with the baby Buddha, he's got the, if you look, now you can go on to Dharma Realm Live, our YouTube channel, and watch the monks bathe on behalf of you, while 4 other monks, if you include Jin Xiaoshi, who was reciting the names of the Vietnamese friends who submitted them, down at Long Beach. He was joining us online through Zoom. You can see there's a baby Buddha statue. He's got one finger up, one finger down, like that, right? And upon the earth below the sky, the Buddha has no peer. And you bathe him with a beautiful bowl of flowers and sweet tea, they say. And it's a nice ceremony. And you bow 3 times. We asked everybody who was joining us to bow at home, to symbolize the fact that we were bathing for them and they were open to the renewal, to the beginning again, trying it again. And the power word that we have there is forgiveness. Forgive, right? We allow ourselves to become new, to let go of the things that hold us back. We let go of those feelings of insufficiency and inferiority and grieving. We don't look back, nor do we look forward, thinking, oh, it's going to be better by and by in the sky after we die. That's may or may not be true, but that doesn't help us right this minute. The sense of renewal is the sense of coming alive in the moment, in the present, where all things are possible, right? So, standing in the garden, what are you going to plant? Whatever you plant, that's what we'll harvest. That's the future, is based on what we plant right now. So pay full attention to the planting that we do, and we got the Buddha's message. Okay, that's the renewal that's going on, Buddha's birthday. And so let me share now. I'm going to shift away. We did the sutra. We looked at 10 accumulations, 10 attainments, depending on how you want to translate it, of the Bodhisattva on the 10th stage. We'll do 10 more next week. And then the next session, let's bring our text back. Here it is, right there. There are 10 more, and they're basically the sages' realms, how they accumulate. Then what happens next, as we said, is the Hua. The Chinese is 此菩萨如是上觉会如是智众生业化 karmic changes, affliction changes, view changes. I'm not going to read it formally because I want to do it respectfully when I do it. But the next is the word Hua, as I mentioned, changes. That's what's coming up next. And if we think about creation stories, how does the Hebrew Scriptures, how does the Torah begin? In the beginning was the Word. And God moved upon the waters. And you don't mention his name, Yahweh, right? Yod He Vav He, 4 Hebrew letters. You don't mention his name, you spell him. That he moved upon the waters and saw it was good. So creation, right? They say that Hindu suttas and great classics begin with Aum, a word, beginning of the word Aum. It's Om, done to get all the vowels from the back of the mouth to the front, back to up to the is that a fricative? You make those sounds and creation happens. The power of sounds, vibrations to create is celebrated in the sutras of almost every religion. They all begin with a word. So that's how things accumulate. That you throw the stone into the pond and out go the ripples. Out of fullness, when everything was good, we move and things accumulate, right? That's what happens. And we suffer when we get the result, when those waves hit the shore, like that. Okay, not always. Sometimes it's happy. Sometimes it's skillful, selfless. In any case, the next thing that happens is transformation. Hua, change happens as conditions age. So that's coming up next. Now, currently, the world around us at the moment is involved in a hua, a transformation, a change resulting from an imbalance. Where did our coronavirus come from? The best knowledge at work today says it came from crossing of a barrier between animal to human, and if we didn't cross the barrier, certain creatures, maybe bats, contained in their systems a certain virus that in the bat is fine, no problem. Keep your viruses, we'll keep ours. We're familiar with ours, we've learned to live with them. They don't kill us, they're with us, but they don't kill us. When you cross that species, through what? Through eating undercooked bat soup or whatever happened, new viruses touch humans that we can't deal with. Out of balance. Something wrong happened. Shouldn't have done. shouldn't have done it. It might have been another animal, a pangolin, it might have been. The oldest Chinese medical text called the Huangdi Neijing Su Wen, the Yellow Emperor's classic on internal medicine, says, do not eat pangolins. They contain viruses that harm us. Their bodies contain substances that are harmful to humans. So back in the Han Dynasty, it was known we shouldn't eat pangolins. Well, people in their search for new experiences say, well, let's try to eat that. I wonder how it tastes. Let's try something a little different. And they go to the restaurant that serves them. Maybe they get sick. So in any case, something entered a human body that was out of balance. Big disease was the result. Okay, so out of balance, in the process of rebalancing, illness results, right? So all of the incredible suffering of the number one source of death in the U.S. is now seniors' homes, nursing homes. Generation of wise elders have died, and we're not at the end of it by any means. Dr. Osterholm, the Minnesotan epidemiologist expert, says in terms of coronavirus in the U.S., we're in the second inning, he said last week. That's a baseball metaphor. There are 9 innings. We're not even halfway there in terms of how it's going to play out. So who pays the price for this? Well, we all do. We all suffer. Most of all, now, the medical professionals who save us when we're sick, when we go to the hospital, when we call the EMTs, the emergency medical technicians. They come to save us, right, to give us care. Those are the folks who suffer. And worldwide, they're being called heroes. In New York City, every night at 7 o'clock, people applaud and fire off air horns. In Nashville, Tennessee, it is coyote howls. It's people out their doors. I've heard people record it and play it. I've heard it. There's some marvelous coyote howling going on, wolf howling in Nashville every night. Here we got kookaburra howls. I don't know if they're celebrating heroes, but we'll take it. Kookaburras. Anyway, here is a song recorded by 6,000 people worldwide, the Couch Choir, who are singing a David Bowie song about heroes. I want to play it for everyone, and it's hard to hear this and not weep, I must say. Powerful. Enjoy. Thank you, Couch Choir. Now, that's the pub choir, and if you want to go searching on YouTube, you can go to the pub choir, P-U-B, pub choir YouTube channel. And because of social distancing, because of quarantining, they became the Couch Choir, singing from home, but they opened it up wide to include 6,000 people who joined in. So while we're out there, I'm going to also share with you a wonderful Bathing the Buddha brought to you by another Dharma friend whose name is Imi Oi Huang Huiyin, and she has, here we are right here, she has put together just recently, along with her colleague Cha Yu, a new Praise of the Buddha. Now, we're going to play just a second of this so that people can hear it, because it's quite wonderful, but we're hoping, like the upon the earth below the sky, the Buddha has no peer. We're hoping that this will also become a new standard. Okay, good. That's just a little bit of that. I'm going to put on the screen where to find that. There we are. If anybody can, maybe you can type that into our YouTube chat box, those of you, our tech team. Or you can search by name. It was Praise of Shakyamuni Tathagata and Imi Ui, I-M-E-E-O-O-I. I like that new version, because we've had Tianshang Tiansha Wuru for a long time. We now have it in English to Amazing Grace. Now we have a new melody. And as we have been doing for the last couple weeks, I've been inviting people to join me in reciting Medicine Buddha's mantra for anointing the crown of the head. And this is this is a mantra from our 10 small mantras, Shi Xiao Zhou, that we recite every day of the world in the first thing in the morning. The monks recite the Shurangama mantra, the Great Compassion mantra, and the 10 small mantras, and this is there. It's the Yao Shi Guan Ding Zhen Yan, Medicine Buddha's mantra for anointing the crown. This is the Sanskrit version of it. The Chinese version is what we're familiar with, we took it back and found the Sanskrit, and it's really powerful. And people do a Tibetan version online, but I think our Sanskrit version needs more familiarity, needs more currency. So here we are. And the point of this, we're going to do this, and then we're going to do the dedication of merit. In fact, I'll bring that up right now so we can go right to it. Dedication of merit is how we close our lectures. But during the time of the pandemic, it's good to recite the Medicine Buddha mantra. And as we do, put your thoughts to where you feel these sounds should go. Is it your local seniors' home? Seniors' homes across the country, around the world. One thing that Buddhism does is it shrinks distance so that we realize when somebody is dying for lack of medical care in Zambia or in Bangladesh or in Brooklyn or Dallas, right, or in a small corner of Queensland, it's as if they were in our living room, as if we were in their home. There's no difference. One person's body breathing touches the carbon particles that come from my lungs will be in your lungs in the blink of an eye, right? This is a very small planet, and currently it's trying to shed an imbalance. And if something has to go, well, maybe we're the thing that we need to rebalance ourselves. We need to renew. The symbolism of Buddha's birthday is the perfect time to consider rebalancing our habits so that everyone can live without breathing being a fatal act. Okay? So, whatever your wish is, make that wish as we sing the mantra. Ready? Here we go. Bhagavate Vaisajya Guru Vaidurya Prabharajaya Tathagataya Arahate Samyak Sambuddhaya Tadyata Vaisaje, Aha Vaisajya Samudgate Swaha Om Namo Bhagavate Vaisajya Guru Vaidurya Prabharajaya Tathagataya Arahate Samyak Sambuddhaya Tadyata Vaisaje Mahavaisaja Samudgate Swaha Om Namo Bhagavate Vaisajya Guru Vaidurya Prabharajaya Tathagataya Arahate Samyak Sambuddhaya Tadyata. Last time, here we go. Vaisaje Mahavaisaja Samudgate Swaha. You can actually keep that going and going and going and going as long as you want. That's courtesy of Fabrizio Alberico, who helped me put that together. We have come to the end of another session of looking into the Vajra. Oops, nope, we haven't. The Avatamsaka Sutra, not the Vajra Sutra. And what we did today was we looked at the text, we read it, we looked at it in terms of language, we looked at it in terms of meaning, then we served it up and added some spicing and flavoring and dessert, and hoped that people found some doors opening into accumulation or attaining. What did the Buddha have in mind when he explained the sutra in that way? So that's what we've done. And if this is my favorite way to spend a Sunday afternoon, a Saturday evening with all of you. I hope you feel the same. Let's transfer all the goodness, all the merit out. Send your mind out like a cell phone tower, like a kookaburra's call, like a Nashville coyote, singing that thought, sending that thought out as far as we can go, with a wish for goodness, however you would like to remake the world. Here we go. Dedication of merit. May every living being, our minds as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find in giving unity, may our minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light dispel the darkness of our endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. I have a handbell, and I'm going to bow 3 times right from where I'm sitting. You're welcome to do the same if you care to. And then we'll bow to the Buddhas 3 times, and then bow to our teacher, Master Srinwa, 3 times. And that will conclude our lecture today. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. Thanks for joining, everyone. See you all next week. Aum Tofo.